You, I'm in love with you, letter U. They hired me for my calligraphy, not for my jokes. Let's do the letter U. Pretty straightforward, not difficult if you've looked at some of the other letters. Starting out by holding our pencil or our pen, so to speak, in the number 4 position, so that top curve starts out rather thin, comes down, stops at about the 7 or 8 o'clock position. The next downstroke is traditional angle, straight down almost to the baseline, and then curves up. Now here's one of those places where we're going to have to make our pen stand on that back corner, so we're actually drawing just with the corner of our pen. Very easy to do with pencil, and we'll try it with our pens as well, because we want this line right here to be very light, very thin. If we didn't do that, that line would be too thick and our letter would get grumpy, as I say. The next line is very simple. There's no elaboration, no ornamentation at the top, just straight down curve, and a traditional kick out. Again, my pen is standing on that one corner, popping a little wheelie as I go uphill, okay? And if this were a pen, that would be solid at the top. That's the capital U. I bet you can do that in your, well, not quite in your sleep, but you can do it. Now let's talk about the lowercase u. Again, pretty predictable. If you've been following with me through the alphabet in order, we've just been through a storm of difficult letters. S, O, T, M and N. And U is like, woo, this is easy. Why didn't somebody make all the letters this easy? So the U, traditional angle of the pen, straight down, curve, and again, my pen goes up on one corner, pops a little wheelie there so that that is nice and thin, and then the next extender comes down. Let me mention something that I want to make sure that you understand this. It would be a mistake for you to come back in Chancery cursive. In fact, I noticed I made that mistake up here when I came and drew it. That's silly. It would be a mistake to try to make the top of this letter horizontal. Do you understand that? All these letters, if we draw a stem like this, the top of the stem is supposed to be at that 30 degree, or what I call a 3.5 position. That's the angle that the top of the stroke is supposed to be. It would be wrong to come back and try to straighten it out. Other typefaces, you do that, but not in Chancery cursive. Okay, so fair enough. That's the double pencil technique. Let's make it a little bit more challenging by going to the felt tip marker. And again, holding your pen a little bit horizontal, coming down to about the 7 or 8 o'clock position if it were a clock face. The next stroke is straight down, parallel with your italicized. And then when you get down here to the bottom of the curve, we kick up the far corner of the pen, the corner that's away from me, right? So my pen's at an angle so that I get a thinner line there. Then the next line is straight down, parallel to the italicized guideline. And again, kick up that pen. Now, if you'll notice here, the ideal is that this stroke and this stroke be parallel to each other. You want that. In fact, throughout all of your calligraphy, these strokes are supposed to be parallel. So if you find that you're doing this line, at a different angle, then you need to bring that up here so it's the same as that one. Okay, then the lowercase u. Kicking up, popping a wheelie, coming up. There we go. And then the next downstroke does the same thing at the bottom. And I want those two strokes like that. I want those to be parallel to each other, which they are here. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's obvious. How do you attach this to the next letter? Quite simple. You see, there are some letters that are easy to attach to the next letter, and some letters that are not easy. The U, because it comes like this, obviously can attach to almost any letter, even the E, which presents a unique challenge when it comes to attaching. You wouldn't want to do something like this. Can you see where this line comes at one angle and this comes at another? If you know that you're going to the letter E, you would want to make sure that that's one contiguous angle. So you would adjust, in this case then, these two should not be parallel. It should be, let me do that again, up and then more horizontal because we're going into an E. Does that make sense? So now these two little parts of that curve are not parallel simply because I was connecting to an E. But most of the time, if it's connecting to any other letter, a T or what have you, it's a very easy connector. What if it's the last letter in a line of text? The U, very simple and very predictable. You know this by now. Any kind of flourish, a simple curve like that, a big S curve, even a big curly Q, any of those, depending on the context, are appropriate. And of course, this is quite exaggerated. You normally wouldn't do that, but I'm having fun with it. Now let's go to the dip pen, which is the main tool that you're training yourself to use. The felt tip pen is great for practice and great if you're doing hundreds of wedding invitations. Go ahead. They wear out fairly quickly. They get duller and duller and duller and lose that edge. Is mine, and in fact, all the way down to the letter U, I've been using the same pen, and it in fact is getting duller. So that's another disadvantage of the felt tip pen. The real calligraphy pen, of course, will never get duller in that sense of the word. This is so much prettier. Do you see how thin that stroke is right there compared to that? That's why the dip pen is superior to the felt tip pen, because it's a nice thin stroke. Now here's the you're watching as we speak. You're watching the difficulty of a dip pen. It's more fun, more beautiful, but more finicky. And I want you to know that, because sometimes if you watch the master calligraphers like on YouTube do their letters, and they are just amazing and they never make any mistakes and their pen always works. Well, that's because it's video. And they took out the outtakes, right? I want you to know that. So when your pen doesn't work, you are not doing something wrong. And in fact, while I'm mentioning it, I've got a pot of water here, because sometimes if my pen does start misbehaving, I'll dip it in water just to loosen up maybe some of the gunky ink that has gotten dried in there. And of course, this is where your black fingertips come from. So if you go out in public to a fine function with ink on your fingers, you'll just have to say, I'm an artist. I'm a calligrapher, to be exact, and everyone will understand. Okay, the lowercase u, very simple. Straight down, curve, pop a wheelie right here so we get a nice thin line. Then the next line comes down and does the same thing. Pop a little wheelie so we get a nice curve. And that's a decent Chancery cursive U. I'm in love with you still. Thanks for watching.